It is wild to see how fast the CS2 market is growing. In just the last 2 days, we went from this announcement from Price Empire saying, hey, the CS2 market cap has passed 5.37 billion to already trading at $5.4 billion. This is absolutely insane. This kind of feels like that 2025 pump. And what I mean by that is let's go back to the beginning of the year. Here we have the end of 2024 into the beginning of the year. We went from roughly $3.6 billion all the way up to about $4.5 billion. We almost added a full $1 billion to the market cap of the CS2 market in that time frame. But now, guys, this is insane to witness because we are about to add $1 billion since going back to the end of July. Something crazy is happening right now in the CS2 market. You could call it manipulation. You could say China. You could say whatever you want. But one thing is certain. The market is going insane. Now, in my previous video, I did warn you guys to stay away from things that are heavily pumped up. Yes, buying one or two things that are going crazy, like stickers, for an example, for a holy grail moment, isn't a bad idea. But, I wouldn't be throwing, my entire net worth at something because, oh, hey, it's up 200, 300% in the last couple of days. I think that it's going to go up even higher. That's what everyone calls chasing the hype, right? You do not want to FOMO into these things just to get wiped out. But one thing is crazy to me. During this entire time in this market, there's a few select play skins that are going crazy. And this is giving us an opportunity at additional play skins within the same category. They could be opportunities. They are going to be some pretty good ROI players if we are really kind of looking at the market dynamic here and basing it off of number one, are these very popular play skins? Number two, is the demand there? Number three, are they rare? Can you box them? This, that, whatever. Like, there's a few things that go into hand here, but, one thing is clear. USP-S skins are going insane. The USP-S whiteout in factory new increased 70% in just the past week, as you guys can see here from Price Empire. On top of that, the factory new case over the last year. Guys, look at how crazy this is. Again, USP-S whiteout, factory new, $300 to $900, not in 1 year, in just 1 month. But if we're looking at the 1 year, we went from $200 to $900. This market is insane right now. But like I said, this is giving us an opportunity. We are looking into other additional USP-S skins. Now, I want to go over a few that I personally think are good opportunities in this space. Just for reference, I do not hold any of these USP-S skins. Just being fully transparent with you guys. Number one, I want to start off with the Orion. So again, I think that this is a very underappreciated skin in the game, simply because it looks very good in game. It kind of goes with a few combos as well, if we're really kind of looking at like Omegas and things like that. I just think that this is a very clean USP-S skin. The details are very solid on it. Even if you don't care about details or anything like that, is there a possibility for this thing to, reach the same value of like even, the whiteout? Again, I don't necessarily think that that's the case. I still think that this is going to be a very expensive USP-S skin already in terms of factory new. It's been going insanely parabolic over the last couple weeks. But the main thing that I'm looking at here isn't so much the factory new. I'm looking at the factory new stat track. And this is where I see the opportunity here, right? Because we just saw the factory new, well, going all the way back in time, and I'm sure that back here, we can't really base it off of this, but just kind of looking at the last year in terms of price action, I still think that there is a solid opportunity here, because even going back to the beginning of the year, we're up, yeah, sure, like about $50 on the skin, but it's nowhere close to some of these additional USP-S skins. And again, this is a pistol that mainly is utilized in the game on CT side starting, right? Sure, yes, I know that a lot of people like the P2000 as well, but for the main part, the USP-S is like the main starter pistol. So, again, this is a skin that I feel like over time it's going to become, more rare. And also, I just feel like it's going to be a little bit more sought after. I think that's a very clean skin. I think that the value is definitely there. Now, if we're talking about the Orion in terms of, how it's been performing, again, 52-week low, we're up about 72%. Compared to some of these other skins, that's nothing. I mean, some of these skins are up an insane amount in the last 52 weeks. So this one hasn't really pumped up all that much. Again, I don't like to utilize the supply metrics on Price Empire because I just don't think that they're accurate at all. Again, it's not going to be an easy stat to really kind of pull from the market because it's so hard to actually, track this fully. But just going off like Stat Track Factory New, they are saying about 5,200. If that is the case, then, the supply metric is definitely there to meet the demand. But it could really go into the whole supply and demand sort of, argument of, hey, I think over time the supply is going to diminish and this thing is going to go insane. Definitely has that argument there. But, we don't know what the full-on supply metrics are. It's very hard to track. But if we're going over here to the chart, I don't like to utilize, trading analysis to really kind of make the argument here. Because, again, technical analysis only goes so far in a market like the CS2 market because it's a very early on, very small, sort of a niche market. But if we're looking at this, RSI-wise, still kind of in the midline range. I don't really, again, like I said, I don't really like to utilize the argument of like, oh, RSI is cooking here, so it means that a sell-off is going to hit. I don't necessarily believe that, but, we could definitely see a slight pullback in the market. It's definitely possible. I think right now a lot of the hype around the market is, building up towards the Armory refresh, possibly in October. So if we're thinking about that, just kind of looking at the last, month or so in terms of the Orion, price has been pretty flat. I mean, yeah, we've pumped up, even if we're looking at like the last 2 months, even the last 3 months. Let's go back to July where the market crashed. We dipped down to about $121. We're up about like, give or take $40 here on the Orion. So it really hasn't moved too much. I still think that's a solid opportunity. And I would put this at like the top 5, definitely the top 5 for USP-S skins to invest into. Now, next up, we also have the Target Acquired. Again, I think that this is a little bit more of an expensive skin. It has been pumping significantly in Factory New. If we're looking at this on the all-time chart, I mean, we just go back to roughly the beginning of August. I mean, we're trading at about like $250 some. We're now over 400 plus. Looking at some of the other wares here, like even the min wares, I still think that the price is pretty flat. I think that some of these additional wares could start to see a lot more price action in them. It's not a bad looking skin in game. It's not my favorite skin at all. It's not something that I personally would buy to, utilize in game, but I do think that over time, considering the fact that this is a very rare USP-S skin, I think that this will go up in value significantly as well, very similar to the additional expensive USP-S skins. And if we're looking at Price Empire, just kind of going over some of the metrics here, very similar to even the Orion, just looking at the chart, I mean, guys, this thing has been skyrocketing. So I would avoid maybe the Factory New. RSI still kind of at the midline for just going off of like overbought and, oversold. But again, just looking at possibly like even the minware, because again, a lot of people don't do this. They don't look at anything outside of Factory New because they want the, best looking skins. The main thing here is we're looking at this from an investor standpoint. So if we're not really going to play with this skin and we're just kind of looking at it from a market dynamic, this thing, its RSI is cooking, which tells us that there is a lot of demand here for this skin. We are about to break over the all-time highs on the chart, which tells us that this thing could start to squeeze significantly higher. Very similar to these additional skins that start to break over their all-time highs. And we kind of call it price discovery in terms of trading. But, if it does go into price discovery, it could definitely reach like the $400+ mark on the minware side. If we're talking about Factory New, that $400 that we're currently at could hit the high $800 mark. It just depends on how much demand there is for this skin. I would say that this is definitely a higher risk item in the game. It's definitely a very rare item as well. You don't really see it utilized that often. It's a very expensive skin, for what it does look like, because I don't think that the design's that great. I know that I'm probably, a little bit biased on that, but I just don't think that it's a good USP-S looking skin. But the demand is starting to rise. It's a very rare skin. You can't box it. So that's definitely a big plus one there. So I do think that this definitely deserves a mention. Is it in the top 5? I would say it's there, especially for the fact that, you can't box this one. But beyond that, we also have the Bleeding Edge, because I do think that this is a better choice over the Target Acquired, and the price here for factory new is about $30. Now, the reason why I would say that this is much cheaper is, well, because it is a restricted compared to the Target Acquired, which, if we are looking at this, it is a classified. So, there is a less supply of the Target Acquired compared to the Bleeding Edge. However, I still think that this looks way better in game. I think that this would go with a lot more combos, especially with a lot of like the red combos in game. And again, I just think that it looks very clean. It's a very clean looking skin, looks very good in CS2, very bright red. Price action wise, I mean, this thing is down because it is a newer launch to the game. It's down significantly going all the way back to April. Even recently in July, it's a little bit up, about $5 from those lows. The supply is a little bit higher than, some of the other rarer, skins. But I just think that this is one that will essentially over time definitely rise in value. It's a little bit more affordable as well. And just looking at the chart, so let's take a quick look at the chart. We are selling off a little bit here. We're at about 26 cents. Or $26, sorry. We're back down to those July lows of about roughly like $24 and like 96 cents. RSI, by the way, this is probably the only time that I will use this metric, okay? Because it's very hard to tie this back to the CS2 market. If we're talking about like stocks or like crypto or something like that, yeah, I would tie RSI back to those markets. However, this thing is cooked. It's extremely cooked here because people are selling this. They're not really buying too much of this skin at all, which is giving us an opportunity in disguise, because with the market going crazy the way that it is, with a lot of these skins pumping like crazy, I do think that this is one that people are kind of overlooking. I mean, again, when we think about this skin, it looks so clean in game. I just don't see how this doesn't become, even if it becomes like a $70 skin or, almost like $100 skin. Hey, that gives us a huge opportunity here to buy up a decent amount of the supply. Obviously, do I think that this is, again, a higher risk item since it is a fresher launch? Not exactly. I still think that this is going to be a very sought after skin, just from the fact that it does go with a lot of red inventories. We do know that this goes with a lot of, combos as well. So I don't think that it has that high risk, sort of title tied to it. If you look at like the Minware as well, Minware does have an opportunity in disguise too. I mean, the price is almost flat here. So again, looking into this, I think that this is going to be a solid opportunity. I would put this in my top 5 for sure. Just because of, number 1, the look of it. Number 2, the market opportunity, because it has barely moved in value. And number 3, I really do think that the demand is going to be there for this skin over time. So I'll definitely put this in my top 5. Next up, probably one of the most expensive ones from this video, the kill confirmed. I've mentioned the kill confirmed in previous videos, okay? I've talked about it on multiple occasions. I do think that this is going to be one of those $1,000+ skins at some point. Not only because of how it looks, because again, it's a beautiful USP-S skin. It's probably one of the most popular ones over time. And again, I think that it deserves it, especially considering the fact that the look of it, the design of it, the details, everything is very solid. All-time high 1.4K. Are you going to be able to get that every day of the week? Not exactly, because again, liquidity for some of these skins have kind of dropped off a bit. But with the market changing, with the market growing, and money also growing around the market, I do think that there's going to be a lot of money really kind of flowing throughout the market into some of these other skins. And the USP-S kill confirmed, I really just see this being highly sought after for a very long time. I think that it's inevitable for this skin to go up in value simply because of the market dynamic for it. Number one, the look of it. The popularity around the kill confirmed has kind of died down, I will say. However, if we're looking at the RSI, it's giving us a little bit of a different glimpse into this and showing us that there is still a lot of demand for this skin. Now, the problem here is that over time and since the beginning of the year, this thing has pumped up over $300+. It's almost doubled in value from the beginning of the year, which is telling us that we should possibly wait on this. I mean, I do think that July was like prime time for buying the kill confirmed. Does it hurt buying it now, holding on to it for a little bit of time? Not exactly. I still think that almost any covert USP-S in StatTrack factory new is going to be very expensive. And I think that that's also very clear, even going off like the print stream, which, is in a very popular active drop case, but it's still extremely expensive. So, with this one being in the Shadow Collection, very rare case, not a lot of people are opening the Shadow case quite often. I mean, if we think about this case, just going off of the buff price, I mean, this is not a cheap case to open up. I mean, it's about roughly $1.80 or so. So if we're thinking about that, the skins in this case, especially considering the fact the kill confirmed is a covert, it's in StatTrack. You can get it, StatTrack factory new. I mean, even the Golden Coil, the Frontside Misty, I remember when some of these skins were so cheap back in like 2017, 2018, the Frontside Misty was kind of like a budget AK skin. Today, it's so expensive. And it's because some of these cases, there's not a lot of them. They're not being boxed as much. The supply for some of these skins are just diminishing. And that's why I do think that the kill confirmed will just continue to go up in value. So this is definitely in my top 5. I would even say top 3 as a solid long-term hold that will just kind of hold its value. And next up, the Traitor. So very similar to the kill confirmed, this is a skin that's so overlooked in CS2. It is so clean, looks very good, very bright colors. Kind of reminds me of the Empress, right? The AK, and it looks so similar to it. It looks so good as well. And by the way, this is also a part of the Snakebite case. This is a case that's not exactly that cheap. I mean, yeah, it's around like the 60-cent mark. But buying up a significant amount of the supply for this case and opening it, I really just think that that's going to be hard to come by. This case has been out since 2021, so there's definitely a decent amount of the traders out there. But just taking a quick look at the StatTrack factory new version of this case, just going off the chart, the chart is pretty flat. It has dropped off a cliff since going all the way back to 2021. This is when it did launch, so, it does make a lot of sense. But just going back to where it kind of cooled off, I mean, give it 2 years, right? So we give it 2 years. This is what the chart looked like. We did hit about like $224 or so. We're now back to those all-time highs on the skin, even going off of the lowest point here back in the recent crash. We were at about roughly like $177 or so. So we did jump about like $50 or so. But I just see a much larger opportunity here for the Traitor. I think that it does go up in value just going off of the chart itself as well. RSI telling us that there is demand for the skin. It's very clear just going off of, the last like month price action. We've been jumping significantly here. But I think that this does have the potential to also hit some of the prices that we've seen in the past for some of these other, skins. I mean, if we're talking about the kill confirmed, I do think that it's good to kind of look at these two side by side and, kind of look at the price wise difference. I'm sure that, the kill confirmed is a lot less rare than, the Traitor, but just kind of going off of these, I do think that over time, the Traitor could potentially hit the same valuations as the kill confirmed, and that's a solid ROI. And, this is not a bad play skin to have. I mean, it looks very good. I'm sure that almost anyone that has red or maybe even yellow gloves, right? I'm sure that you could probably mix this into your inventory and be happy with it. It looks very solid. It looks good. And I just think that this is going to be a sought after USP-S skin. Now, next up, we have, last but not least, the Cayman. You don't see this one. You don't see this one much at all. StatTrack factory new, $128. Going off of the look in game, it's not a crazy looking skin. Not my favorite. It's not, something that I would say, hey, let me just go out and buy this for my inventory, which is probably why like the price hasn't really erupted. But that's not the selling point to me. All right, the value of this skin has definitely gone up. The main thing that I'm looking at with the Cayman isn't, oh, hey, I think that the demand's there. I think people are going to buy this skin like crazy and just cause the, price to skyrocket. That's not the reason why I'm looking at this. The number one reason why I'm looking at this skin is right off the rip, RSI, pretty flat, right? There's not a crazy amount of price jumps here. We went up about like 24 bucks since the July lows. The main selling point to me with the Cayman is trade ups, because this is a part of the Huntsman weapon case. The same weapon case that the Vulcan is a part of. Having StatTrack factory news loaded up, and I know that this is pretty expensive to do as a trade up, but having some of these loaded up into the trade up to get that sweet AK-47 Vulcan and StatTrack factory new, hey, I think that this will be, over time, a trade up that a lot of people do. Maybe even some popular YouTube channels trying to get the number one AK-47 Vulcan. And guess what? It's a toss-up between either the Cayman in this case, or the Cyrex, or possibly even the Atomic Alloy. Now, almost all of these have gone up significantly in value. However, the Cayman and the Atomic Alloy are two of the most popular play skins when it comes to the classified side of this case. Because again, the M4A1S, you could use it all day long. By the way, another skin that I remember being so cheap back in 2017. It's crazy how this market has changed. And then also the Cayman. I mean, listen, it's a USP-S skin. People will be happy to use it as a play skin. But I do think that the main selling point here for the Cayman is just trade ups to the AK-47 Vulcan. So I do think that the value of the Caymans will go up. Right now, they have been pretty flat. They've been pretty flat for like the last, I would say, like 3 months now. So I would definitely look into this one to buy up some of the supply, because over time I do see it being utilized quite heavily for trade ups to the Vulcan, because it is a very sought after AK skin. Looks very good in CS2. Love how bright it is now. And it just looks very clean, and people love it for blue inventories. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, and turn notifications on to never miss a future update. And with that being said, this has been Nick. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace out.